What in the world is going on with traffic? I think it's time that we had a conversation. If you have noticed your website traffic dropping, you are absolutely not alone. We're seeing this across the board with a lot of different types of businesses. And here is what is going on, right? And I've noticed this, like it's been creeping up over the last few months, but it came on big time in February. And the first thing is that AI, especially in Google, has taken over those suggested search results. And you'll see this when you type in, something in at the top. Gemini, Google's AI search, facility, comes up with some answers, right? And if you open that, it actually pushes down any content that's on the page to, at best 2/3 the way down when you get past the ads, all those sorts of things. And so this is absolutely, it's just cannibalizing the traffic that we're seeing in Google. And that is primarily where search comes from, right? Like there aren't a lot of other search utilities out there from a search engine perspective that have as much market share as Google does. They're somewhere over 90%. And so that is the number one thing that is happening. We're going to talk about that. The other thing is search has become very fractured in terms of how people search. And so a lot of people, especially younger people, Google is not their go-to search tool, right? They'll use Instagram, they'll use TikTok, they'll use Reddit, they'll use YouTube. There are a lot of other places that people are searching now. And that's why we've been actively working with you to help you optimize everything that's out there. And here's the funny thing, like a lot of our clients, while the numbers in Google Analytics look down, the revenue's never been better. And so, those two things, they just don't match up, right? They used to, but they don't. And so here's one of the things that I really want you to understand. And what I'm seeing in terms of this cannibalization is primarily in the search terms that we used to call discovery, right? Where someone is looking for a big idea, they don't exactly know. They're just sort of researching, right? Discovery is the same thing as research, and Google is starting to fill in those answers in a large way. Where we're not seeing any of this go on is in transactional type search terms where people have specific intent as to what they want to do, where they want to go, those sorts of things. And so when I look at the balance here of websites, travel websites that have a lot of content about their destination, they're seeing their numbers go way down. If your website has a lot of information on anything that is really, how do I say this, right, designed from a search perspective to get people to come to your website so that they understand your brand. And I know I'm talking a lot about like that blogging content and those sorts of things. That's what's getting cannibalized. Sites that have e-commerce or those sorts of things, I'm not seeing any of this. In fact, I'm seeing them go up. If anything, in terms of traffic, it's the exact opposite. And so that's the key thing that you want to know. Uh, and this proves out in some of the tools that now show AI search in the search results. And one of those is a tool we use called SEMrush. And it now allows you to dial in out of all the search terms that you score for, which ones have been cannibalized by Google. And for a lot of clients that have, a lot of discovery and exploration type content, it's in the hundreds and sometimes thousands of search terms that we used to get direct click-throughs to are now being answered directly at the top. And this is obviously not a great way to get traffic to your website. And so even though you score still number one for something, at the end of the day, nobody's clicking through. You are getting credit for this. It's not as obvious as I'd like it to be. And if people want more, they're obviously scrolling down. So there's where we're at with that. And so our pushback has been really to start to focus content more on that transactional, maybe those long-term search terms, long tail, we call them multiple keyword search terms, and baking those into content because we're seeing less impact on those. And also when we do, if we score well for it, we do get some click through to it. And so that's a good thing. So we're already adjusting our strategy, like we're aware of what's going on. But here's the thing, right? Things are moving at an incredible rate in terms of what's transpiring with AI. I think it's a good thing because AI is helping us do a lot with our business, a lot with our marketing. But at the same time, like it's mind-boggling because things change on a monthly basis, daily basis, right? And that's where we're at. So we're on top of it. We're studying it. We recognize that it's distressing when you see your Google Analytics traffic going the wrong direction for whatever reason. And I just want to say the backside of that is also this data corruption issue that we're seeing, and we've been actively correcting in Google Analytics due to consent and enhanced conversions, those sorts of things. So I know I've talked about that quite a bit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at some of the past blog posts here because I wrote about it in December, January, something like that. The last thing is there are some good examples down below of what I mean by discovery search and transactional search. So you'd be like, oh, I understand exactly what he's talking about for a change. All right. If you have any questions, we can address them in the meetings, or as always, you can just reach out directly to us, and we are happy to talk through what is going on and creating strategies for you to continue to excel. And for me, where the rubber has always met the road in terms of metrics, it's been revenue, it's been business, those sorts of things. So that's what I had to say today about your Google Analytics traffic. What are you noticing? What do you see when you look at your numbers and your reports? And I'd like you to compare that to where you're at in terms of business, and let's have that discussion. All right, we are supporting you 100%, and I can't wait to talk to you soon.